For centuries, Alderaan stood as a beacon of hope in the Republic. But the Empire came.
I have chosen to test this station's destructive power on your home planet of Alderaan.
Peace while you suffer. The Emperor drowns you in black waters.
He wants me to be Darth Revan again. Serve him as I did centuries ago. He made me a Sith Lord and named me Darth Revan.
The Force does not control you. You saved Ugantian using something you thought was important. But your motives are still aligned with the Jedi Code.
To arms, men! Defend the throne!
Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him. He was weak and foolish, like his father. So I destroyed him.
Master Windu, you have fought gallantly. Worthy of recognition in the archives of the Jedi. It is finished.
To them it is.
I have been waiting for you. Is it true that he is the chosen one?
It's Alex,
It's Harrison.
and welcome back to State of the Galaxy in episode 19.
Woohoo!
So we're very close to breaking those 20 digits.
This is practically a
Not
second
20
season.
Yeah, practically. I don't know if we'll ever do a season break, but if we do, then we'll come back with something glorious. I know I want to do a 100 episode or 50 episode special thing. Maybe we'll try and record for 2 hours straight, something like that. I mean, we've done 1 hour
Yeah, I mean,
straight.
it'd be like watching a movie, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be
Listen
great.
to a movie.
We'll have a soundtrack and everything. So we've got a couple of things that I want to cover today. I want to bring back another shout out for my friend Stephen, who said, "Why don't we cover some stuff on the Millennium Falcon and the Ghost?" So first of all, I think I know the answer to this, but which one is your favourite?
It's the Falcon.
Yeah.
Full on, like.
Yeah.
Just them engines. They're just so cool.
When Rebels was first announced way back when we were doing Nerdscast, I did though like the fact that the whole series kind of had a feel of Star Wars being merged with Firefly, where you had this kind of family on board the ship, and most of it would centre around that. But I've always loved the Falcon as well.
I suppose you can't really do that on the Falcon because it's just so scummy and you don't know what you might walk into.
Well, that too, and plus it's not. Rebels focuses on these characters, and they all have like their own story arcs that help to develop them. But whereas Star Wars, at least the originals for me, I don't know whether you would agree, is Luke's story,
Yeah, basically.
and it doesn't always take part on the Falcon. Obviously, you've got stuff on Empire where Luke isn't even present and it's aboard the Falcon, but then you've got stuff for Han and Leia. But I don't think the story
No.
revolves around what happens on the Falcon.
You got the second Death Star run in the last film, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it really relates much.
No, it's just another great tool to have for those films. But with Rebels, it's a bit more important.
Well, fastest ship in the fleet, you know.
Yeah. So obviously we've got the Han Solo film coming out, and we're seeing the Millennium Falcon straight off the production line. Kessel Run
Yeah, the paint hasn't even
ready.
dried yet.
Exactly. But something that I made the connection with only moments ago was that in connection with the Ugly Ship post that's on our Star Wars Facebook page, it's almost like the Falcon went through that kind of transformation
Yeah.
where it looked very different and looked very sleek, almost like a kind of Lamborghini style Falcon, but then may have undergone some damage or may have just been changed around a bit when parts wore out and were merged with parts from another ship, very much like the Uglies were.
Han Solo always seems to be owing people money or in some sort of financial struggle, so I imagine maybe he's never had the time.
To go
Or
out
money
and
to-
properly replace
Yeah, I
stuff.
mean-
The only times he's actually had a proper professional have a look in on it is when he arrived at Cloud City.
And even then it was tampered with.
It was tampered with. So thank you very much for having that shout out. Well, we will give that
Yeah.
shout out, but thank you very much for that suggestion, Stephen. And
It's like a reverse shout out.
It's a reverse shout-out. and I hope that's covered a little bit for you. But something else that you mentioned was that the Ghost it seems a bit more roomy, and you're absolutely right, because obviously there are similarities that are shared, whereas you got the two cockpits and they're almost the same size, from the Falcon to the Ghost, and then you've got probably the same amount of turrets.
Yeah, I think Ghost has only got 2 as well, isn't it?
I think so, yeah, and underneath one on top. And probably room for cargo as well. But then you've also got sleeping quarters, which you never see on the Falcon, minus, of course, that medical bed that Luke uses in Empire.
It's got a little space for the sort of lobby type room as well with the chessboard, hasn't it? But
Yeah, but that's more like a recreational area.
it must have at least maybe 1 sleeping bedroom.
And remember, the Ghost has one of those tables and quite a large recreational area. I think it has a kitchen as well. So I think the Ghost may beat it in size in terms of occupiable space. I suppose the Falcon is a smuggler's ship primarily, so most of that living space probably would be taken up with places to stash supplies. I mean, if you cast your mind back to some moments again in Empire Strikes Back when Leia's fixing up that part of the wall, it looks very cramped, despite the fact that Falcon, from the outside at least, is a rather large ship.
It's huge, but obviously the engines take up a lot of space.
Yeah.
The hyperdrive takes up probably a reasonable amount of space.
And then that's something that's quite different in comparison with the Naboo ship in Episode 1, when they're fixing the hyperdrive, and the hyperdrive practically has a hall to itself.
Yeah.
And it's just so much space just to move around.
I bet the Falcon hyperdrive is massive considering how big them engines are.
Yeah, and it's probably just like crammed into a corner. It's really inaccessible.
To get speed, you need bigger hyperdrives.
Yeah.
So run the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs.
Yeah, that's assuming that the Falcon that we used to know is even capable of that anymore. So let's move on to a topic that I wanted to cover, and it was something that we covered in podcast. I think it was the last podcast actually. We covered a bit of my personal questionnaire, because we've done the Star Wars questionnaire, both you and I, although I probably need to recover it at some point. And if you don't mind, I'm going to throw out some of my personal questions that I thought I would ask the average Star Wars fan. Like, if I go to Comic-Con and I find one of those old Imperial officers or stormtroopers, I might go up to them and say, oh, well, you know, what do you think about this kind of thing?
You will go up to them.
You will go up to them, and they will answer these questions.
You may stall and not know what to say, but you will go and have a look.
Yeah, I'll stutter and probably cry or something, but, you know.
So pretty.
It's so pretty, Mr. Imperial Officer 17. But unnameable
Imperial Officer 16 to you.
Unnameable stormtrooper. So the first one being, what is your favorite? So it's a 2-part question. What is your favorite planet to look at? So not to live on, but what is the coolest planet for you?
Ooh, tough question.
So maybe you enjoyed a scene particularly because the planet was aesthetically nice?
Actually, I'm going to go with one that probably not many people say.
Go for it.
I quite like Mustafar.
There we go, that was mine.
It shows a strong feeling of adaptability and ruggedness.
Yeah, and
it
if
just looks
you
really cool.
if you look into it more with like the Marvel Expanded Universe comics, it's where Vader went to bleed the lightsaber crystal in the catacombs underneath his castle, and then you've obviously got his castle as well from Rogue One.
Obviously, it's got some high ground issues.
It does, at least one or two. So it's just a nice one to look at, and it's interesting to think that some of the beings that we saw there were indigenous to that planet.
And them drones were just continuing with their lives regardless.
Yeah, and the people that lived, at least in the close vicinity to where they were, like the weird beings that were lifting lava out of the streams along with the droids, they probably look upon that landscape on a daily basis, and it just, you know, whatever.
Well, it's probably like water, but
yeah,
you touch it, you die straight away.
Yeah, straight away death.
Reverse water, you know?
And then on the opposite end of the scale, what is your favourite planet that you personally would like to live on?
Ooh, that is a tough one. I think it's Kashyyyk, because the jungles look really amazing. Like, the Wookiee culture looks really interesting.
The only thing that I wouldn't like is the climate. Yeah. I'd imagine it would be quite high.
I imagine it doesn't get cold either.
No.
It's like forever and ever around.
No, I imagine it's quite... No, like, you know, the summers like we have here in England, it can get quite sticky. And well, no, if you... Like, summers should be, but then you get those really horrible humid times. So it's almost like the sky is orange.
Sky is on fire.
So
know.
I'd imagine it'd be
Chic.
quite like that, especially in the jungles. But maybe in the kind of tree areas, it might be quite nice, nicely
Like
ventilated.
What's the village? Is it? No, I think
Is
I'm
it
thinking of Camino.
Taboka or no? I don't know why that sounds. Yeah, we do have Wikipedia up, so we could look that up. I might do that now. What am I looking up? Just
Tapoka City's on Camino, I think.
so I just type in Kashyyyk City.
Yeah, just Kashyyyk, you might get the.
I immediately spelt it wrong. So I think for me, when I did this, I chose Scarif.
That was cool as well.
Because it was actually described by members of Imperial Society as being almost like a holiday resort. I mean, obviously the climate is still quite high, but it's more on that kind of stifling level. You've got beaches, you've got, minus obviously the Imperial occupation, it never used to look like that. So
the shield might make the sky look really weird when it's
yeah,
up,
but apart from that, it's just generally a nice place. And I imagine that the climate isn't much different to places like Florida or even Malta.
Yeah, it might not have a hurricane season.
No, maybe not. And even if you did, I'm sure it's just something that you kind of deal with.
I wonder if a constant planetary shield might actually affect the ecosystem as well.
Maybe.
Because obviously, kind of imagine it like another ozone layer. It might actually contain.
But it's something that they had
gases
to.
And stuff.
It's something that, with ozone layers and things like that. It's something that they then had to patch up with planets that they gave a climate to when they shouldn't have had one, like Coruscant. Because now they've had to say that Coruscant has an artificial weather system, where of course if you have a planet that doesn't have something that produces oxygen naturally, and then I guess you'd have to have that mingle with natural water and things like that, and then that would create the weather.
I mean, the shield's not up constantly, but
No.
I imagine it's up a lot of the time because the rebellion is obviously a constant threat.
Although to be fair, isn't the shield in the upper atmosphere, so it wouldn't affect clouds and that.
No, but if gases are escaping,
They wouldn't be able
they
to
would
escape.
be clogged by the shield and might go back down.
Oh, good shout, actually.
It might make sort of. It all depends how long the Empire are constantly there. They might eventually move on and they might take their archives somewhere else.
So maybe they would have all just choked to death. Assuming that
Well-
Scarif Base didn't blow up, maybe they just would have all choked to death.
Possibly.
Because
It might take thousands upon thousands of years to even pollute the planet, but might, over a long period of time, decrease the weather conditions.
no, good shout.
If you're a Wookiee, you might still be alive by then.
if
Super ancient, but still alive.
you are a Wookiee, it's not Skyhook, is it?
I
For
have
Kashyyyk?
no idea.
So I'll just add Kashyyyk City.
It might not even be named.
Maybe.
It might be something stupid like Tree City.
There's a royal city. Let's try that. Kashyyyk Royal City. I think it's just called Kashyyyk Royal City.
Yeah, I'll go with that then.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're all called Royal City.
Yeah.
We have 100 of the same place.
We do. For the one on
Unless being
Alzar.
so unadvanced, maybe they just call it all Kashyyyk.
Maybe they do.
Maybe it's just like we are one Kashyyyk, kind of like Asgard.
Yeah. And then kind of along the same lines, but more towards a singular location. What is your favourite location? So not necessarily planet. I think mine... Oh no, wait. Bob's was the kind of one of the tubes in Utapau, because of the cities that you have there, and they're kind of skeletal from their design. But then you also have the futuristic buildings as well, and they kind of merge quite nicely. So that I can't remember what mine was.
I think I do really like Camino, just to Poker City, because it's cool how it's all in like on stilts really in the water.
Yeah, like a futuristic oil rig.
Unbeknownst to common belief, it doesn't rain all the time on Camino.
No?
It's just a lot of the time.
Just a lot of the time.
Monsoon seasons and stuff. So
Oh, okay. Wow.
it doesn't rain forever, so it must be some days where it looks quite nice.
Sure.
It's kind of like Atlantis from Stargate.
And then... Oh, here we go. So, I'm guessing you know that John Williams won't be doing any Star Wars music past Episode 9. So, who would you have composed the next lot of Star Wars films in terms of soundtrack?
I think I'd go with Hans Zimmer.
See,
He does some really good ones.
I was thinking Hans Zimmer, but then I thought maybe Hans Zimmer would be better for the Star Wars story films, whereas his music isn't always epic, but it's beautifully paced.
Well, maybe Two Steps from Hell. They always do some really good.
I just don't know whether they'd ever consider doing, because the beauty of theirs is that it's considered by many people as royalty free, or at least that's the music that they would then use for their productions, like things like Rise of the Spartans and things like that. They then use that because it's not connected to any production. It's just epic music that you can download and listen to. But yeah, I don't know many.
I think he's like the second biggest one.
Yeah,
because John Williams done Avatar, and I think he done some of the Alien films.
But then
as
Hans
well.
Zimmer did Batman, didn't he?
Yeah, he did all
did.
three of the Christian Bale Batman films.
Yeah.
Done War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
He's done loads that you just don't even accredit.
Oh, Pirates.
Black Hawk Down he did.
Yep. Didn't he do... Oh, I think Bob said this. Didn't he do... like Gladiator in his early days?
Yes, I think he did.
So Gladiator always has some very atmospheric music. So he can do it, I suppose.
I suppose it really depends on the tone of what's trying to be said as well.
Yeah, if we're looking at these Game of Thrones creator line films, then we may need something completely different if it's a darker feel. So
I mean, that all depends if they even do that by then. It's such a while away.
I think they've been confirmed to be doing it, but we just don't know if they're taking it down their usual feel. I don't know why they would hire them if they weren't going to
Rick
do
and Morty
that.
season 4 was confirmed, and look where that went.
Yeah, but
Out the window.
it was confirmed as it wants to happen, but didn't they say also that they don't have a studio to do
Yeah,
it?
they don't have a network that's ordered a full season. It's
Yeah.
annoying, really.
Yeah.
It's gone but not forgotten. Rick and Morty.
Always in our hearts. And then again, who would you have compose the music for the individual Star Wars stories? So if you were to have Hans Zimmer for the main,
Well, who did Rogue One? Because they don't think of music. I don't know if that.
I think it's a long weird name, but I
I'll
know.
get them. Whoever it was that done Rogue One to do, say, Solo and hopefully Kenobi in the future.
Solo's already been done, so I don't know whether we can really go back and change that. But yeah, so say
Have time.
the standalone films that are after these three, then yeah, maybe. But at the same time, I think the beauty of the standalone films is that they bring in a different composer each time.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You've always got that kind of John Williams-y aspect, so long as you're looking at Star Wars stories that take place in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to feel like I'm on the edge of my seat when the actual action scenes are happening. It's intense. It's gripping, not just like a clumsy attempt at throwing a lightsaber around, you know?
Yeah, that's assuming that we're even getting lightsaber combat in that
Who
particular
knows?
film.
Who knows?
I mean, I'm hoping we will in Kenobi at least.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a stick the whole time.
I don't know whether we will in Solo.
I imagine not, because...
But we thought we weren't going to get it in Rogue.
No, but that was a cheeky hang-on at the end.
Yeah.
That was totally made
It's
the film.
entirely possible that we could be getting another Vader moment.
Just not at the end.
Well, who knows? Maybe at the end.
It'd be cool somewhere in the middle. Actually has an impact on the film storyline itself.
Because I know lots of people thought that Rogue One didn't get good until the third act. For me, I was enjoying the story all the way through. I mean, I'll admit the third act was the best, but that's often the case with any kind of war film.
As soon as they landed on Scarif, it picked up and got really interesting and intense.
But I enjoyed, again, the lore. So everything with Saw Gerrera, I didn't mind. Everything with Yavin base, I thought was fine.
Save the dream!
Save the rebellion. But at the same time, I understand where people are coming from, where they say that the third act was better, because it was better.
And it was
But
a lot
again,
of jumping around to different places.
It was, yeah. That's
So
something
many
that I
location
found quite
places.
jarring
It's like, oh, here
as it went
so-and-so,
on.
and then it's like, oh.
I thought with all these planets, they could have spent a little bit more time on it.
And it's like, you're at the
Wabini.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Similar sounding one to Kenobi, kind of, if you jamble it around. And then it's like, and then you got Edu, and then you got all over the place, really.
I mean, at least with Edu, we got some a little bit more story on it, because obviously that was where Galen passed away, and it was kind of like the transformation of Jyn Erso, and she was getting more involved, and then Cassian's kind of like dark past coming out.
Yeah, Jeddah looked cool as well.
Yeah, I hope that we get more on Jeddah.
Well, we won't get any more of Jeddah City, at least.
No more on Jeddah City, but I mean that's assuming that we're looking into the future only. We could always go, and they said that there was a temple there. So if we're having a look at perhaps this live action series that Filoni's taking
I
out.
mean, the Guardians of the Temple were guarding Kyber for a long period, weren't they? So
What if the next series is called Jedi Padawan, and he follows because I mean it's something that was again one of my favorite or some of my favorite episodes of the Clone Wars was when Ahsoka took that group of Jedi Padawans to Ilum, and then obviously you had the Tenant droid aboard the
that's cool.
Republic ship, and he told them how to construct lightsabers and stuff like that. So maybe a bit more. And again, I think it's something that Turnbull brought up when we were talking about the Star Wars questionnaire, and I asked him if he were to write a story, which one would it be? And he said something that depicted what it took to become a Jedi Master from
whenever
Jedi
we see
Padawan
Jedi training, it's never completed.
No, exactly, and
very
and
impatient
we've
in the
never
future.
seen the trials.
No.
So it'd be nice. I know lots of, and again, I think this was Stephen who brought this up. He said that there are certain mysteries in Star Wars that need to be left unanswered.
Mysteries, yeah.
And one of them that he brought up was the Yoda race. That Yoda, lots of people have been talking about a possible Yoda series that I think was going to be on Netflix at one point, but I don't know if that's even still in the making or still flying around as rumour.
Well, we do see another Yoda.
We see
in the
quite a few.
background.
Yeah,
Well,
because
it's episode 2. There's one in the
Episode
Jedi
1.
Council.
episode 1.
Yeah, Master Boss. You only hear about briefly, I think. It was.
No,
Is it not?
no, because isn't Master Boss the one with the long pink ears?
I don't know. I thought it was of the Yoda race.
No, he's different because he dies in the Clone Wars aboard on that planet that's got the impenetrable fortress on, and then they burn him in with lava and stuff.
Yeah, because it's sort of slowly mentioned in the film.
Master Boss has led his troops to Boss Pity or something like that.
Master Boss has fallen, I think they say. Yeah.
Oh no, it's Master Durai or something has fallen, and Master Boss has led his troops to Boss Pity. So Master Boss was all over that point. But anyway, what was it? The other Yoda race was Yaddle,
That's
a
the one.
female member of Yoda's species, and she died. I believe she died between episodes 1 and 2, and then Shakti took her place upon the Jedi Council.
Ooh, sneaky.
I mean, obviously, I doubt she was waiting there like, good, now I can finally take the place. It was
I'll
it's
see
just
it all later.
obviously there's a limited member seats available on the Jedi Council. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you just have thousands of members.
Was it 11 on the Jedi Council? Is it?
Something like that, yeah. So naturally, if someone dies, there's going to be a successor, and it just happened to be Shakti at that point.
I mean, when you consider the Jedi Council,
Yeah.
Master Windu is basically like the Jedi Overlord.
Yeah,
Because you could say that. He's kind of like the voice of the Council as well.
he is, and it's weird because I imagine when people. I mean, obviously, we didn't really get this luxury because we came into. I don't know about you, but I certainly came into Star Wars around about the prequel time. So
We weren't alive when it came out.
Well,
originally.
no, I know, but well, we were alive before Episode 1 came out, so we could have watched them before then. But I think we really got
Yeah,
into it
we
when the
grasped
prequels
it
were
then,
around.
so, I mean,
So this would probably be more around about Turnbull's time. I don't know whether him and his friends were expecting, because obviously there was a lot of mystery around the Jedi. They always said that there were more Jedi, and they always probably presumed that there was some kind of council. They probably thought that Yoda was the leader of that. I mean, Yoda said that for 800 years he trained Jedi. So why is he not the leader of the council? It's an
exactly.
odd choice that they made.
Well, it seems good to have a unanimous lead.
Yeah, I mean, Mace
Sort of
Windu is
voice of
very,
reason.
apart from to Anakin, he's very neutral.
I mean, he obviously has good reason to distrust Anakin.
Yeah, just because there's so much behind him. It's
Mhm.
like, it's kind of like the same approach that Dumbledore took. I can't remember which film it was, but you know when Dumbledore kind of gave Harry the cold shoulder for pretty much the entire film. I think was it Half-Blood Prince?
Yeah.
Because it was just before his death. Or maybe if just a film before that. But that's something that they kind of share, where this person that they're meant to be looking out for, there's so much counting on them that they can't get too involved, and
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they don't want them to feel like they can just kind of stroll through their training. So maybe giving them a hard time is just like a secondary lesson.
It's like character.
Yeah, it's
building,
character
really,
building,
isn't it?
because then they're like, okay, I can't just fly through life.
I can be good, but I can't just win every time.
Mm.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Master Windu also knew of the slight darkness that took hold of it within Anakin.
Yeah, I mean they
They could all tell.
They could all tell from the very beginning when they were doing the test with baby Anakin.
Yeah.
And he said, "Much fear at you," and the fear clouds his judgment and stuff like that. They could all, you could see them looking at each other and exchanging looks.
And it was very aggressive fighting Count Dooku.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe they didn't all witness that, but they probably felt it. I mean, Yoda felt the slaughter of the Sam people. And he probably discussed it with Mace because it obviously troubled him quite a lot.
Yeah.
So, are there any questions that you would like to add to this Star Wars questionnaire, personally?
What's your preference, the light or the dark?
Well,
Because
yeah, but
that
we've already had that.
Yeah, but
Like
what's your personal preference? Because I don't actually remember what your answer was.
Oh, my personal
Yeah,
preference.
like,
Okay, my personal
the
preference.
personal question.
Okay, my personal preference has actually changed. Because when I took this Star Wars quiz, I think it was about 4 years ago now, it was the dark side. And I still see a lot of pros within the dark side because I can understand living life with a passion, with a passionate drive. Because obviously, being an artist, a lot of my stuff is built off emotion and built off my drive for passion and for whatever else is focused around that particular piece. So that's a very Sith kind of. I imagine a Jedi drawing.
That's a very absolute piece of view, though.
Yeah, and only a Sith deal in the absolutes. So maybe my opinion hasn't changed as much, but I don't think I'm Sith anymore. Because even when I did that questionnaire way back when, I said that I don't enjoy the suffering of others, but lots of the Old Republic Sith did. So even then, under further evaluation, I may not have been as Sith as I gave myself credit for. So in the long and the short of it, I'd probably be a Grey Jedi. A Grey Jedi or a Dark Jedi. Just someone who is not connected to either order. Someone who may have started in the Sith or may have started in the Jedi and then left the order and
why
gone
are
off
they
of
really
them.
called Grey Jedi? Because they're meant to be attached from neither.
Well, yeah, but I think it's just because the Grey Jedi previously came from the Jedi Order. So they learn the ways of the Jedi and then they go out and they still uphold some of the values of the Jedi, but then they don't completely separate themselves. They still fight for what they believe is good, but at the end of the day, they're kind of like the freelance of the good side of the Force. There's no what was there? I think it was Han Solo. There's no mystical energy. There's no mystical energy that controls my destiny.
Yeah.
So
Chewbacca is looking at him going,
yeah.
The hell are you talking about? Mystical energy.
So yeah, I'd probably go with that. What about you? I mean, I think we've already been through
I
this.
think I'd go neutral as well because there needs to be a balance.
There does,
And the Jedi go on about the balance, and the Sith kind of do, but they never really achieve it.
And it's something again that I brought up in my Light of the Saber post, with my favourite Star Wars quote from Episode 2, is that that resonates with me quite a lot because the Sith and the Jedi living like that is extremely impractical.
You can't really achieve the end goal.
You can't, and it will destroy you, especially if you're Sith. I mean, out of the two ways of living, the Sith in its purest form is probably worse than the Jedi, but at the same time, we're human.
Yeah, I mean, they let the dark side consume them.
For the most part,
It's bad.
for the most part, we can't. It's not that we're materialistic, but we like our stuff. I mean, I think we can both safely say that we like collectibles. We like going out and just buying random stuff because it means something to us at the end of the day. It doesn't matter if it doesn't mean anything to anyone else, but if you were a Jedi, you wouldn't be able to do that. And at the same time, we don't light villages on fire.
No.
But we're just human. We have our ups and downs.
Yeah, I mean, if I want to light a village on fire, I can, but I
yeah,
won't.
but he probably won't. So
Well, if I do, it's Minecraft.
yeah, so it's the Grey Jedi is the most human way to live.
Yeah.
Grey Jedi or Dark Jedi.
It has an achievable goal.
Yeah.
To achieve that goal, being a Jedi, you would have to become grey. And
Yeah.
the same with Sith.
Because the Grey Jedi were almost like and I'm breaking into lots of different mediums today, but normal Jedi are very much like the Time Lords of Gallifrey, where their main goal for the most part was to observe the universe and never to interfere. Obviously, that changed a lot when the Clone Wars hit, but up until that point, even Mace Windu himself said that we are keepers of the peace, not soldiers.
Let them pass in peace.
So, yeah, like you're absolutely right. To achieve that goal in a universe and during the state of the galaxy, you have to go down that path.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you
have to maintain that state of the galaxy.
Otherwise, you'll never make a difference because you're always limited to your way of life.
You know, peace among worlds.
Peace among worlds. So how far are we into today's episode? So we're 28 minutes in, so we'll finish up.
Cool.
I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to cover today.
Don't think so.
I mean, we spoke a little bit about an idea that we had, and I think it's something that we're not actually going to release finished off until around about May time. But we wanted to write. Are we going to do our own separate ones, or?
I think we could do it together, joint
Okay,
one,
fair.
if you want.
Yeah, I'm done with that. So that's decided then. So from today onwards, we're going to be writing up our prediction of what's going to happen in Star Wars Episode 9. We may even give it a title.
I think we should.
Yeah, and that will be our little project running alongside the stuff that we'll be doing on the Star Wars page.
Light of the Saber, yeah.
The Light of the Saber Star Wars Facebook page.
I just want to call it the Star Wars page forever, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, eventually I'll get that that capture of us just scrolling through the page, and we'll edit that in at the end of the podcast. But yeah, so that's going to be the little thing that we'll work on. We'll probably bounce back ideas when we have other people on the podcast. I mean, I'd like to sit Turnbull down again and just say, you know, you've seen this film 2 or 3 times now. By that point, the film probably will have come out, because it's going to come out
It comes out next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday. So
next Tuesday.
Oh, okay. Well, at least we're on DVD format. So we'll have that time in order to rewatch it and retake it in, and he'll probably have his own ideas about what will be happening.
Well, we know where the story can proceed to.
Yeah.
I think it's going to show a long, dark route of Kylo Ren becoming a sort of proxy emperor. Because obviously he's not like Snoke, but I reckon a lot of the First Order will abandon him. I think they're not worthy because he's so young. He won't be able to hold. I don't think he'll be able to hold the First Order together.
I mean, maybe we could write in a point where Hux just has enough.
I reckon he will.
He divides, because as the film goes at the moment, it depicts Phasma as possibly having survived. So maybe he takes a salvage team out to, and as she has had a lot of training, she would learn how to survive.
Yeah, I mean,
so she could be in a bad way, but she's managed to just bolt herself
onto a bit of metal.
Cling onto a bit of metal, but she's managed to find a small little life pod. Just plug herself in, but she's in a coma. Kind
of like Leo on that bit of wreckage in the Titanic.
Or like, if we go back to Star Wars again, like Maul and Savage when they're in that ship. I think it's escaping Tatooine.
Yeah.
And it gets hit, and they both end up pretty much in a state of nearly death.
Themselves through hate, really, isn't
yeah.
It?
So you could have the same kind of thing. So, Phasma is at that point where she's willing to join up with Hux, because obviously her failure.
They will both want power as well.
Yeah, you can put her failure down to a lot of her restrictions due to who was leading the First Order at that point. If she goes into a more of a kind of freelance state, perhaps she may be better of a character.
Yeah.
And same with Hux as well.
Hux might not seem like a laughing stock.
Which would be nice.
Yeah.
I think we should definitely make Hux cool again.
No, we should make him a laughing stock.
No. See, this is why I was thinking we should do different ones.
We'll make him cool.
We should make him cool again.
And not a dog or a laughing stock in any kind of way.
But I like the idea of having him and Phasma team up together, because they did have history, even if that's not what's portrayed by the film. It is what's in canon.
There's not enough time in the film. Really,
no, I know, but it would be nice to show a bit more of a bond that they clearly have. Then
seem to look at each other at all.
No, he does talk to her, but not in a way that would suggest there's any kind of history.
Strictly professional.
Strictly professional.
So that'd be cool.
It would be cool to have them perhaps go off and do some freelance stuff, and then going back to my kind of psychological interest with the dark side. Obviously, Kylo Ren is not as strong as the Emperor, and he's not as strong as Snoke, and he's not as strong as Revan, and he's not as strong as all the other Vitiate, and he's not as strong. So eventually, the dark side would just overtake him, and he would go through these stages just as unsurety, without without Snoke to put him right, and without his family to try and bring him back to the light, he's on his own now, and it's something that I experience a lot with things like depression and anxiety. If you don't have people around you to set you straight, then your mind just wanders, and you do start to just make strange decisions.
Maybe he might even put the helmet back on.
Maybe,
I mean,
or
Snape
maybe
obviously had
he'll.
a thing and made him take it off. So
It's a rebellious thing.
yeah, maybe it will help him become more within himself.
Yeah, but just
focused.
never reveal his face again. He'll
No.
see it as like what was it was the Tusken Raiders who believed it to be a sin to remove their helmets. And any ones that did considered themselves to be like banished from their clan.
Yeah.
So it could be the
Could be
same
a
similar
Price of
kind of
Failure
thing.
sort of thing.
This helmet is representing his breakaway from Snoke, but also his connection to the dark side. And if he were to remove it, then he'd feel less powerful.
And hopefully we get the Knights of Ren. Well, we will in our story.
Yes,
They're going to be there.
yeah, they will be there.
Need
They'll
to
be
figure
there
it
in
out.
our story. We'll just have to figure out how.
I reckon they'd be all human. I don't think there'd be any aliens.
No, perhaps not. Well, because it's going back to our thing. I think it was us that said that the first, at least the Empire, seemed to be very prejudiced
Well,
against.
they're very, very xenophobic.
Yeah, and apart from the exceptions like Thrawn, and a few others,
But even then, he was still humanoid.
he was still humanoid.
He
Yeah,
still
I mean
had
you wouldn't have
2 arms, 2 legs.
like the spider separatist leader and things like that.
Hmm.
So yeah, you're absolutely right. There's still that kind of thing there. But anyway, we will wrap up and we'll hopefully figure that out a bit more in later times.
We'll be at the drawing board.
We will, yes. So whether you are Jedi or Sith, Republic or CIS, First Order or Resistance,
Bor Gallad or non-Bor Gallad.
Mandalorian or Tusken Raider, I think we cover them all.
Ugly or non-ugly.
Not ugly or not ugly. Oh, you're beautiful in our eyes. We hope you have a very good evening, day, or wherever you are, whatever you're doing. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.